With Craig Humphreys, Mark Rogers, and Brad Copeland. It's Sports Morning on 98.1 FM, WWLS, the Sports Animal.
You guys are up?
That's right. Sports Morning with Mark and Brad on the Animal. A Bob Moore Thursday on the Animal with Brad Copeland. A Bob Moore Nissan today. And Mark Rogers coming to us from Arlington, where he's been doing a great job the last couple of days covering the Big 12 Media Days. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, What's up, Pomper? How are you doing?
I'm doing just great. And Marcus, I got to start by saying you're just doing a fantastic job. I mean, starting with the Sonny Dykes interview right as I went off the air yesterday, about noon yesterday, and you and Brad and Cale was with you, and Cale is not with you right now, but he's doing. Sports Animal website or the app and pull up the podcast page and catch the podcast of all the great work that Mark and Cale have done down there. But fantastic job and another busy day today, right, Marcus?
Well, thank you, Craig. I could listen to those compliments all day, probably into tomorrow. We're going to air some of the things yesterday on the show later today. We'll hear from Colin Oliver from Oklahoma State, because we didn't get to talk to those players until after we were off the air yesterday. I thought we also had a really fascinating discussion with Dana Holgerson. And then today, during the show, we're going to have a lot of access to Brent Venables and the Oklahoma players. But we've got some other good things that will go up on the podcast page. So it's been a lot of fun down here. I really enjoyed working with Cale. He's done a great job. And so it gets me fired up for football season. This is always a great event. It's fun to get ready to start to look ahead to the more important times of sports.
Brad, go ahead.
No, I thought it was fantastic. Them changing the time messed with our mojo a little bit. We didn't have quite the smooth sailing that we had last year when everything was already rolling by the time we got on the air. But it was really good stuff. I thought Sonny Dykes was very insightful. Really good stuff from him. Shocking that Cale could not get Mike Gundy to commit to an interview with him. So Mike taking some heat on ESPN this morning over the Bedlam stuff.
I heard Jim yesterday, by the way, his rant at 2:00 definitely reached us down in Dallas. I also texted with him this morning and I said, hey, I don't take these things kind of as seriously as you. It was pretty funny yesterday because Mike came in and then immediately walked up into the stands and was having a very animated telephone conversation with somebody. But I thought that was incredible for Cale. Mike comes strolling by us, gives us a little underhanded salute, and then just continues on his way. And then Cale said if Mom were still alive, he'd be sitting right there. I thought that was fantastic. So
did Cale know that Mike was going to diss him beforehand or not, Marcus?
I mean, I don't want to pull the curtain back too much, but Cale's been working on Mike to come on the show for a while and hasn't had much success. But I think that he knew yesterday when he was here that there would not be an interview.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he was fairly confident. He made the comments on the air about if Mom was still around that she would have seen to it that.
I don't know what the wiretapping laws are, but maybe he could just have a phone conversation that turns into an interview that we could trick Mike. But
well, but. Plenty of people did talk to you, starting with Sonny Dykes. Marcus, were you surprised that he was so confident? I mean, he was going, I don't see any reason why we can't be better on offense this year than last year.
They had lost some really good receivers that have been there for a while. Yeah, it did surprise me a little bit because usually coaches aren't necessarily trying to hype their teams that much. And I don't know that he was necessarily doing that yesterday, but I do think that he really appreciated, again, what happened last year. And that doesn't always happen with every team. And so one of the problems for TCU this year might be the fact that are they going to be overconfident at times? You know, the team that went and played for a national championship, do they expect
That's what
to
I
win
was
games?
trying to get at with Cale yesterday when I asked him that question of how do you walk that line between confidence and feeling enough swagger that you can go out and compete with anybody, but not feeling too confident that you don't have to really grind it out. And losing the players that they lose, up to and including Max Dugan, and that superstar receiver that they had last year, is going to be a challenge for them. I like the fact that Sonny, though, feels confident in his abilities and his game plan, that he doesn't see them as having a letdown this season, even though a lot of other people are expecting it.
Well, and you never know with the portal, right? Because what we didn't know about a lot of the guys that they had brought in, for last year, but Sonny Dykes did. So I don't know. I mean, like Pat said, right now, Marcus, I mean, he's riding high. He can do no wrong. He was National Coach of the Year. He took him to the title game in his first year. So expectations are definitely high at TCU. But again, they were only picked, number 4 or 5 in the conference. But again, as we were talking with Pat at the end of the hour, K-State, who's in there today, Marcus, they won the conference title last year, and not that many people. I know they're picked second behind Texas by the experts and so forth, but it seems like the last couple of days we've talked a whole lot about Texas, about TCU, obviously about OU and OSU, and the defending conference champion K-State seems to me to be flying a little under the radar.
Well, especially with the offensive line and experience at quarterback, they'll be pretty good. We visited with Bruce Feldman from Fox Sports just a few minutes ago, and we will have that later. He said he thought this year as many as 10 teams could win the Big 12, and that he thought that it might come from the middle of the pack, and not real high on Texas because even though they've had expectations in the past, they haven't really necessarily been able to deliver. He pointed out that Sark's never won more than 9 games as a head coach. So TCU was rated really low last year, and it really is difficult to handicap who's going to win the Big 12. And it also, for me, we've gone round and round and round when we're just kind of sitting around here talking, especially with Barry. What are these new teams what are they going to be able to provide? They're non-Power 5 schools, and now they're in, the Big 12. Can they pull upsets? Can they win consistently? And if you look at UCF last year, they beat a pretty good Tulane team. The rest of the schedule is kind of nondescript, but they've had some big victories in the past. So will they be good enough to win consistently week in and week out when they play more difficult teams every week? I think all of those things will go a long way in determining, who gets the conference championship game. And remember, last year is a 2-loss team that won it.
But the fact of the matter is that they've got to start somewhere. And they're non-Power 5 teams. UCF and Cincinnati both have had some really good experience coming from where they came from. They can't, I don't think that they will compete consistently week in and week out. I don't think any of them are a threat to win the Big 12 this year, but they've got to take their first step somewhere. And this is the year that they're going to do it. And it's going to be interesting to get to see them play Oklahoma and Texas before they leave the conference. I'm in a weird sort of way. I'm glad that they came into the conference the year before Oklahoma and Texas leave so that we can see them compete against what should be more dominant teams than them, but they're going to have a chance to prove their bones against those teams this year.
Marcus, it seemed to me yesterday that no one was more excited to be there than BYU. And I heard the Morning Animals talking about how they even had put football players in full uniform, doing things, taking videos down on the field, but brought a large contingent. Just looking at their schedule, though, man, you talk about a tough schedule.
Yes.
Yeah, they got to go to Arkansas, to TCU, to Texas, to OSU. I mean, that's a pretty tough schedule for BYU.
So you're happy to be here, huh? We're going to find out,
Yeah. We talked to Keaton Slovis. That's up on the podcast page yesterday, their quarterback, who is in his 3rd different school who I like. I think is definitely got an NFL type arm, but they really did get kind of done dirty by the league with their schedule. They got to play OU, Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State. They got, I don't know, maybe they did take advantage of them. I'll tell you this, the teams that have moved into the league treat this day differently than the teams that have been here. I can promise you that. The Sports Information Office, I guess at Cincinnati, is walking around with basically a placard giving you facts on the players that are here with them and their coach.
Didn't UCF have something similar too? I thought I saw.
I hadn't seen that. Yes, I guess so. Cisco's just sending it to me right now. And BYU stayed last night until 6:00, making sure that everybody that wanted to speak to their players got a chance to do it.
That's smart. That's good.
It is.
I agree with that. I think it's.
Go ahead.
I think it's going to be interesting to see the way Oklahoma and Texas approach their first year at SEC Media Days next year, because I think that for these 4 teams, it's completely appropriate for them to do that. I don't think it's the right move for. To get opposing fans interested in what they're bringing to the conference.
Listen, I'll answer that right now. They'll approach it with blue blood arrogance. So it's the way it'll be.
And I think they should, frankly.
But it is kind of refreshing to have people that really want to genuinely interact. And I love what Barry did. I thought that was such good work to travel to the different places and to kind of go and be on their turf with the athletic directors and just listen to some of his stories off the air about how well he was received and welcomed by these schools. And you should see how they treat him here. He's like, Barry is like a king. Not that he isn't already, but I'm just saying is that all these schools come up to him like he's their long lost cousin. So I think this is going to be a cool deal to welcome these guys into the Big 12. And who knows what kind of realignment we're going to have in the next 4, 5, 6, 8 years and where these programs will go. And talk to the AD at Central Florida this morning about all of the things that they're trying to do and the potential that program has in the middle of Florida, being able to recruit, some money that they've been able to raise. And he's an excellent fundraiser there. Can they take a big jump? You know, I mean, look where Miami was in the 70s, Miami of Florida. When you remember, Craig, when OU played them,
they were going to do away with the football program.
Yeah. They in 10 years went from a program that was not going to be there to a team that had one of the more dominant runs in the history of college football in 10 years. I don't know. Yep. Can UCF do that? And they've been pretty good. They haven't been bad.
I know Pat is not high on UCF, but most of the experts have ranked them the highest of the 4 new teams in the Big 12. And I got to say, Marcus, the fact that like Gus Malzahn is going into his 3rd year at UCF, Kalani Sitake at BYU, his 8th year, Dana, who you talked to from Houston, in his 5th year there. Now, Cincinnati has a first-year coach and Scott Satterfield after losing Fickle. But I'm just saying, you know, those are 3 pretty darn good coaches. I mean, at UCF and BYU, Houston. I don't know. It's intriguing. But, yeah, Pat just kind of, you know, passes off UCF. He basically saying they're not Power 5. But like you said, tremendous potential. They got more coming back maybe than some of the other ones. I got to ask you about your interview with Dana.
Their AD told us this morning he touted their recruiting class in 2024, which they just signed. I think they got a commitment from their highest rated recruiting class ever. So I don't know, you know, not normal. I can't see Joe Castiglione saying, "Hey, have you seen our football recruiting class?" But I think Pat's not high on them because they tried to claim a national championship that they didn't really merit, you know, on the field with their undefeated record. But I think that he's sleeping on the potential of that program in this league. And clearly, whether they're not going into the SEC, and that might be a blessing in disguise for them in the middle of that country, just to be able to say, hey, you're going to have a bunch of exposure in the Big 12, and maybe they go win, you know?
Yeah. Hey, I was going to ask you on Dana, and I heard you talking about this with the Morning Animals, but interesting what he said about Mike Leach, Marcus. Share that with people that might not have heard it.
Well, Dana sat down and I know him a little bit. Cale knows him, of course, very well. They go way back, and he said, let's just talk about anything but football. And then I think it was very candid, some of the things that he said about the demands that he has work-wise, and told us that from the 1st of June to the 25th of June that he'd worked harder than he had at any point in his career. He didn't have a full roster of players in the spring because of the transfer portal and how you have to be present every day. There's really no time to be out of the office because players are coming in, unlike they did in the past where you have 15 or 20 come in for a recruiting weekend. They might have 1 or 2 come in every day, or maybe not one for a couple of days, and you have to fill out your roster. You can't go into a Power 5 conference and play with a depleted roster. So he was almost apologizing for taking a vacation, and then just said, I think the stress and the pressure of all that is what kind of got Mike Leach, and may have, that stress may have led to his demise. It's kind of a powerful thing to say, but it's life has changed for a lot of college football coaches. We've seen the turnover in basketball with kind of the old guard and the elite coaches getting out of the business. And so we'll see how it affects coaches now if there's not some change that comes to transfer portal and NIL.
Okay, Mark doing a great job in Arlington Big 12 Media Days. We have Brad Copeland at Bob Moore Nissan. What's going on there, Brad?
Bob Moore Nissan's got you covered. You want new, you want pre-owned. They are undergoing a full remodel of the dealership, but that doesn't mean that the deals aren't here. They've got great deals. They've got inventory on the lot, and you could drive one home tonight, or you could special order exactly what you want and get it in just a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so. 0% APR, special APR on Rogues and Muranos right now, 2.9% on Frontiers, Kicks, Maximus, and Pathfinders, and 1.9% special APR on Muranos, Armadas, Rogue Sports, and Sentras, and still hanging on to that 0% 60-month special APR on full-size Titans. So if you're looking for a car, a truck, an SUV, get in here and get yourself one. Drive it home tonight at Bob Moore Nissan, I-35 and Tecumseh Road.
And I'm right here at Pauline's Southern Kitchen in Yukon, where I'm getting hungry. Lunch is close. In fact, they're open right now. And I'm getting hungry looking at all these family-style offers like fried chicken, the chicken pot pie, the chicken tenders, chicken fried steak. They got all the fried bites and the cheese fries. I mean, they got the original, the barbecue chicken, the spicy chicken, the chicken bacon ranch, talking about the cheese fries. And don't forget, you can get any of your Johnny's favorites right here at Pauline's, like the Theta cheeseburger, the Caesar burger, the chili cheeseburger, all right here at Pauline's, where they have family-style dining. They got the family-style sides, the fried okra, the mashed potatoes with gravy, green beans, baked beans, green chili corn that you have with every meal, whether you're ordering the fried chicken, the chicken pot pie, the chicken tenders, chicken fried steak, the pot roast, meatloaf, fried salt and pepper catfish. It's all good right here at Pauline's Southern Kitchen in Yukon. Mark Rogers in Arlington. Brad at Bob Moore Nissan on a Bob Moore Thursday on the Animal. Bob Moore Thursday on the Animal. Brad Copeland, Bob Moore Nissan. Craig Humphreys here at Pauline Southern Kitchen in Yukon. And we have Mark Rogers down at Big 12 Media Days in Arlington.
A couple of things,
Marcus,
Craig.
I was running down the
hold on.
menu here.
Yeah,
before.
I got
Go
some
ahead.
things for you here real fast. We possibly could have some OU players sitting down with us here in just a second, so we'll be on the lookout for that. But I got to tell you, my rankings for Pauline Southern Kitchen. Here's how I like my chicken. Here's how I rate them. It's not chicken, but I rate chicken fried steak first. It's got chicken in the name, so I'm going to treat it as that it is chicken because that's always the top option. Number two, and a pretty close number two, I'm going to go chicken nuggets and spicy bites, which you said that they have. Give me a little seasoning on the chicken and maybe allow me to dip it into something. I really like the nugget. I love nuggets. So I'm going that number two. Then number three, the chicken pot pie. You don't find that on the menu very many places, and it is delicious. You got some vegetables in there, so it makes you feel good that you're eating something healthy. And then number four, I'm going to go tenders. And then number five, I'm just going to go chicken, the regular chicken, the fried chicken on the bone, because I think that we've made great advances from the Middle Ages when we used to eat everything off the bone, that we've cut the best pieces of the chicken, and we've even found a way to bread steak like we would bread a chicken. And so that goes to the top spot. But you made me really, really hungry at the end of the last segment.
I like the convenience of the chicken strip, but if I'm having home-style pan-fried chicken like that, I want it on the bone. I want the full piece. I don't know, there's something about tearing that breast apart and pulling that meat off of there that makes it better in my mind.
Very nice.
Very nice
breakdown, Mark.
Torn the breast off for you.
Not turning any of them down.
I don't know. I think you kind of zigged and zagged right there. The convenience is a big deal. I mean, you're not, you were born in the 21st century or the 20th century for you, but that's a good thing rather than the 16th century. I mean, they could roast a chicken on a spit back in the Middle Ages.
I think what Brad's saying is he wants to earn his chicken fry. He wants to earn it, right?
I'm not afraid of a chicken on a spit. Give me a chicken on a Ferris wheel. Have Pauline's roll in one of those Ferris wheels and put them on there. I'll get some of that too.
Those usually taste pretty good. I agree, but that didn't even make the rotisserie chicken didn't even make my top five.
Pretty good breakdown, Marcus.
Thank you,
even
Greg.
while he's doing all the great stuff from Jerry World, he's breaking down the menu here at Pauline's. Thunder was in action last night in the NBA Summer League. Thunder playing at the Cox Pavilion this time out in Vegas, beat Indiana by a score of 98-87. We got to see Chet Holmgren, and Chet was really good, 25-9 last night, guys. And Ousmane Dieng, maybe his best performance in Summer League, right, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, he's coming around. There were moments last year during the season that when he was given some time, he kind of started to show some signs of maybe becoming the player that would deserve to be drafted where he was. It's just going to be a project. I mean, like so many other players on that Thunder roster, they've got a lot of people that they're banking on the future on, and he's one of them. But yeah, I'd rather see him progressing than regressing in the summer league like this. I gotta admit, I've sort of checked out on the summer league now that most of the stars have sat down. I didn't realize Chet was going to play last night, or I would have tried to watch part of the game last night. But yeah, I mean, any of those guys, I think progression is better than any other option in terms of what we're seeing right now in summer league.
Yeah, last night, Ousmane Dieng goes for 22 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He hit 3 out of 4 threes. He was 9 for 11. Really a great performance. Chet, like we said, 25-9. He had 5 blocks last night. Chet went 9 for 15. They started Jalen Williams out of Arkansas. He only scored 4 points, went over 4 from 3. Cason Wallace, again, didn't shoot it that well. He missed all 3 of his threes, went 2 for 7. But Keontae Johnson off the bench, Marcus, the former K-State player who played at Florida, 18 points off the bench last night, 7 out of 9. He's had a couple of good showings in the summer league.
But where is he going to find time with the team? You know,
I don't know. Yeah,
the roster is so full right now. I think Dieng's summer league might be the biggest story of the team. Right? I mean, his efficiency, he's scoring.
Right.
His field goal percentage is off the charts good. They drafted him for his potential. He's incredibly young. So what can he become? I mean, is he good enough to become a guy like that does everything? You know, maybe like a Jaylen Brown eventually that could be a complimentary superstar. That's probably a lot of expectations to put on him. But I think when they traded up to draft him, they were expecting a lot from him. But again, getting playing time on this team becomes very, very difficult.
Well, and after yesterday, it's going to become even more difficult because we talked about roster crunch for this team. And we wondered whether Patty Mills would actually make it to Oklahoma City or not. And we found out yesterday that he's not going to, and we got even more young talent.
No question. Well, and look at last night. I mean, RE played in that game last night. He had 7 points, 8 rebounds off the bench and about 23 minutes off the bench. Jared Butler is shown well in his playing time. I mean, he had 18 points, 7 assists, 3 steals in the game last night. And you'd probably say he's 3rd or 4th down the list on most impressive. But what you're saying, Marcus, we knew what Chet could do going in. Of course, we knew what J-Dub could do and the guys that played last year. And so Dieng might be now Cason Wallace had an eye-opening performance in his first game. He's cooled off in the last couple. So we'll see how he finishes it off. But, yeah, Dieng last night, 22, 9, 6 assists, 9 for 11, 3 for 4 from 3. You can't ask for a much better performance there. And NBA, real quick, I know Sam sent us the text, Marcus, on James Harden. But basically, he's just saying that James Harden still wants out of Philadelphia. There had been the report at some NBA party that he attended where Joel Embiid was there and the Sixers owner was there and so forth out in Vegas. But they said he is still determined to start next year in a Clippers jersey. What do you think, Mark?
I don't know, man. I don't know how good that is. Good news that is for the Clippers. It could help, but you know, availability is a big thing for the Clippers, right? I mean, they got to have guys that can be out there. I don't think the Clippers can put him in that contract on a team that already has what they do. Now he's going to go back and play with Russell, I guess. So I don't know. It's all interesting to me. I think that I do know this, that NBA teams that have a good general manager and understand roster construction are the more successful. They're the more successful GMs than the ones that are basically just letting the players try to put together the team.
Hey, were you guys surprised, by the way, speaking of the NBA, that the Celtics put some more money into Porzingis? New 2-year, $60 million extension, so he's under contract for $96 million now through the 25-26 season. I guess if you're going to trade for him, you got to go all the way and be committed long term. So that was 2 weeks after he exercised the $36 million option for next year, and now they've added 2 more years and $60 more million for Kristaps Porzingis in Boston.
Yeah, I was just reading last night that there was some publication that was scoring the grades that have happened on trades and pickups already, and they had that one scored really low based on giving up Marcus Smart. I know, Mark, you don't view it the same way. You don't think giving up Marcus Smart was as bad for the Celtics as what they got in return, but that guy was giving it a bad grade even before this news that we got this morning that they were giving that extra money to him. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. This is a big gamble for Boston. We'll see if it pays off or not. They couldn't quite get over the hump, but they're tinkering with what was getting them there, and we're going to find out this season whether it was the right move or not.
I don't necessarily like losing Marcus Smart, but I do like the fact that they diversified the roster. They had two stars on the wing, and they really didn't have much inside to be able to score in the post when they needed to. And there's a lot of just 3-point shooting, and they had to give up something good to get something potentially that could change their roster. So I think it probably was just a net gain, not a ton, but a little bit for them.
I agree with Marcus on that. I really like adding Porzingis. I don't care. I know giving up Marcus Smart's a lot, but if you got to do that to get Porzingis is a better fit on that roster, I think, than Marcus Smart was. So I'm with you, Marcus. ESPYS real quick last night, and then we'll get back to football in Arlington next segment. Guys, what were the highlights or lowlights? Any thoughts on the ESPYS from last night?
Brad and I have the same thoughts on the ESPYS. They're just not for me. You guys were maybe I should just tag Matt in and let him rip LeBron. But it just seems so manufactured. I think I would have liked it when I was 10 years old, but it's just now the NBA Summer League was better television to me.
There's just too many award shows. I'm just worn slick on them. The Emmy Award nominees came out yesterday, and I'm curious in seeing who got nominated, who the fellow actors, the people that are in charge of choosing who deserves to be nominated. I'm curious to see how my thoughts match up with that. But in terms of sitting down for 2 or 3 hours and watching an award show, I just don't have it in me anymore. And so I watched some clips this morning. I thought the thing with Damar Hamlin, I thought was quite touching. Where he was emotional before he even got up to the microphone, and they used that as he thanked the people that helped him, and then they used it as a platform to encourage people to get CPR certified because that's what saved his life. Stuff like that is nice, but it's not nice enough to get me, especially in an age where we have YouTube. It's not enough to get me to sit down for 3 hours and watch something that I'm really quite bored with.
And the deal with Liam Hendricks was also nice. The White Sox pitcher, who he got the Jimmy V Award for perseverance, was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Diagnosed in December. He's donated $100,000 to cancer research and so forth. He announced in April he was cancer-free. But 34-year-old Australian, interesting story anyway, but said that he pitched much of last season, Matt, with cancer. So I thought that was a pretty good story. Matt, any other thoughts on the ESPYs?
Well, I just think LeBron James is the master of self-promotion. And, with all these good stories last night, and I didn't watch the show because it's made for TV and it doesn't interest me. But with all these good stories, with Liam Hendricks and Damar Hamlin and all these things, of course, LeBron James, in his own mind, thinks it's a big deal that 6 billion people already knew, and that's he's going to play basketball next year. No kidding. We said this at the time. I mean, that the deal with him retiring was garbage. Anybody with a brain knew that he wasn't going to retire. And again, I have to watch myself sometimes that I don't violate my own rule. But if you listen to LeBron or you read what LeBron says, you hear the word "I" a whole bunch. I, and it I don't know, man. I don't want to criticize LeBron. LeBron, to my knowledge, there's never been a speck of trouble off the court. I love what he did with that I Promise school in Akron. As somebody who has a young son who, I care very much about his education. I wish others in the state did, but that's a different matter. I love what LeBron did with that I Promise school. He is somebody that I shouldn't want to rip all the time, but he is so consumed with himself and promoting himself. What did he say at the end of that deal last night? Lucky for you guys, I'm coming back or something. Well, thank you so much, LeBron. Now I have a reason to live to November because you're coming back. I mean, I don't know.
Question. All right. It is Bob Moore Thursday. Brad, what's going on at Bob Moore Nissan?
Bob Moore Nissan has got new. They've got used. They've got certified pre-owned. If you want a Nissan that you're not buying new, but you still get some coverage after the fact, and you know that you're getting a quality vehicle, that you know all the details of how it's been taken care of, that's what you get with a certified pre-owned Nissan. 167-point inspection that it goes through. You get some service after the sale, and you know you're driving a quality ride from Bob Moore Nissan. They have certified pre-owned Nissans on the lot. They also have some pre-owned vehicles from other manufacturers. Believe that I saw a BMW SUV out there. So if you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, no matter the make or model, they can get you there. And also, if you're looking for new Nissans, you're not going to find a better deal. And you're certainly not going to find a better group of people to work with than at Bob Moore Nissan. You can find them online at bobmoorenissan.com or come in and see us at Bob Moore Nissan, I-35 and Tecumseh Road in Norman.
And I'm right here at Pauline's Southern Kitchen in Yukon, reminding you that the Johnny's Rewards app and Johnny's gift cards are now offered at Pauline's. All the Johnny's Rewards members can use any of their rewards throughout the week at any Johnny's or Pauline's location, and it's easy to earn. Just download the app, receive an automatic $5 off gift, and immediately start receiving more rewards throughout the week with no purchase necessary. Some of our customer favorites are the free ordered fries, free rings every Friday, free large tea, $2 off burger. So check it out. Also, check out Happy Hour at Pauline's this month, every day from 3 until 6, half price on all drinks right here at Pauline's Southern Kitchen. Mark Rogers is at the Big 12 Media Days in Arlington, back with Mark and Brad right after this.
Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line. Friday, July 21st, Grand Casino Hotel and Resort. Tyler Hubbard. Live. Tickets on sale now at grandboxoffice.com. Don't miss Tyler Hubbard live.
Let's brew some beer.
We grow the barley that makes your beer.
I grow the rice.
I grow the hops.
I make the steam. No steam, no beer.
We make the cans. I bottle the beer. I label the beer. I pack the beer. I deliver the beer. I drop off the beer.
I serve the beer.
guys are up.
Welcome back. It is Sports Morning with Mark and Brad on the Animal. Bob Moore Thursday. Brad's at Bob Moore Nissan. Mark Rogers in Arlington. Craig Humphreys here. Pauline Southern Kitchen in Yukon. Marcus, I'm sure a lot of it probably runs together with 14 different teams to talk to down there. But you're doing a great job. I can't remember if we've talked to you about your thoughts on what you heard from Steve Sarkisian and Texas yesterday. But just overall, what are your thoughts on the Longhorns going into this season?
He was on the podium when we were on the air, so I really didn't get to hear a lot of what he had to say. I think for them, can they play good enough or well enough on defense to win a bunch of games? I think their offense will be good. One of the things Bruce Feldman talked to us about earlier this morning was that Quinn Ewers, he shaved or he cut his mullet, that he's lost some weight, and he said he's trying to mature into, someone that he wasn't in high school. That can really help the Texas offense if he's gotten his body into a little bit better shape and can lead that team because he's got a lot of weapons around him. He was interception prone last year. He was also hurt. So if he can clean up the interceptions and stay on the field, they've got some depth at that position, and they should be pretty good. Damn it.
Conference, because that's doing nothing but putting the target on your back. Although
Got you guys back.
He said from the podium yesterday that they revel in having the target on their back. But for me, I would rather be coming from a position of third, fourth, fifth, somewhere down the stack, coming up and being a surprise than being the one that everybody expects you to do it. And anything less than that is going to be a failure. So, I mean, maybe that's why I'm not the head coach at the University of Texas, but that's my perspective on it. He seems to have the confidence, though. And, I mean, there's no doubt that their recruiting has been solid and their roster is good.
No question. We have Mark back with us. And Marcus, we were just talking about the fact Texas received 41 first-place votes to 14 for K-State. I mean, not only were they the pick this year, first time they've ever been chosen as the preseason favorite in the Big 12 in the decisionless format. But what are your thoughts on that, Marcus?
They got to produce. I mean, they have to win. They have lost games that you shouldn't expect them to. They've also played really well at times. Played great against Alabama last year and had a chance to knock them off. You remember that when the point spread last year, was at 14 and then it was 16 and 18 and 20. And, people just couldn't help themselves from thinking that Texas was going to get slaughtered by Alabama, and they played well enough to win. They beat OU 49-0. We know what happened with OU's backup quarterback situation in that game, but I don't know that Dylan Gabriel makes 49 points difference.
Jean and Rojan running the football. I think a lot of their problems last year, Brad, were they were working in a new offensive line. I mean, 2 or 3 true freshmen in the offensive line a year ago. Now they have all of those guys back. Some of them, they think that can do some really great things in the offensive line. I'm thinking their offensive line is going to be a lot better. That's going to help Quinn Ewers at quarterback, get some of their young running backs this year.
Well, yeah, and they also benefit from the fact that Ewers is coming back, that they're not immediately going to Arch Manning or they're not trying to change and go to somebody else. Ewers showed at times last year that he can be a capable quarterback. I mean, they played great in that game against Alabama. Now, unfortunately, they got to play Alabama again this year, so they're going to have to deal with that, not to mention playing through the conference. But, I think that the deck is stacked in Texas's favor.
Almost 10 minutes.
10 minutes for what?
What I'm looking for.
No, and like Pat said, so far he's 13-12 in his 2 years at Texas, and even the 8-5. Another 8-5 this year would not sit well.
I'll turn you on
with the Longhorn fans.
Not when they're expected to be the best team in the conference and expected to win it, and they're getting ready to make a jump into the SEC. We talk a lot about the expectation of the Oklahoma fans, but Texas fans are going to be exactly the same way. Texas was a little bit better than OU last year. but they also didn't have a first-year coach. I mean, there's a lot of things going against Sarkisian. And like I said, the only thing that he could really do is end up in a situation where people say, well, of course you finished like that. That's where you were supposed to finish, or you didn't get it done for us again.
Do we have Mark back?
I think so. I'm here.
I guess not. Not right now.
I'm here.
Oh, there he
No,
is.
he's
All
here.
right, there he is.
How's it going?
Marcus. All right. So we keep trying to get your thoughts on Texas, Marcus, and you keep getting zapped. So
I don't know who's zapping me.
Anything else?
Yes, Texas has the potential to be very good, but the quarterback seems to have really dedicated himself in the offseason to get in better shape, but they got to go out and play and get it done. Good enough to play close to Alabama, bad enough to lose to teams that they shouldn't.
Who have we not covered among the favorites? Baylor. Mark, what are your thoughts on the Baylor Bears?
You know, for Dave Aranda being a defensive coach, they weren't as good on that side of the football last year. I like their quarterback. I think Blake Shapen can run it and throw it a little bit. He's won a Big 12 championship on this field as a quarterback for Baylor. So again, another one of those teams in the middle of the pack that could break out and be a surprise. Iowa State's here today. They had a very good defensive team last year, but they were awful on offense. They couldn't run the ball. They really couldn't do much of anything, and were no threat really. I mean, like Oklahoma defense played really well against them. So I don't think Matt Campbell has become a bad coach. Probably could have gotten out of Ames and gotten onto a better job someplace when they were winning. So kind of has to, I think win some ball games this year. But if, Iowa State's schedule should kind of be a little bit more manageable this season. So they play good defense. They're really good fundamentally. He knows how to scheme. He knows what players he's looking for in recruiting in the 3-3-5.
Go ahead, Brad.
Iowa State, I don't know what to expect from them this year. I had lowered expectations from them last year. They kind of finished about where they probably should have. Baylor, on the other hand, I think Baylor was a big disappointment last year, coming off of winning the Big 12 the year before. Shapen is a good quarterback, and they got to feel good about another year under him. I think Baylor is a team to keep an eye on this year. I don't see any reason why Baylor is not going to continue to be, especially with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, continuing to be one of the leaders in the Big 12 moving forward.
So help me out with all this.
This could be a good year for Baylor.
We're talking about how easy the OU schedule is. Now, they don't play Kansas State. They don't play Texas Tech, which are two teams that I think have potential to be in the top four of the conference. But we're saying kind of the same things about all of these teams, that, yeah, they could be all right. They're not bad. I just don't know how that translates into making Oklahoma's schedule super easy. They get Cincinnati, they get West Virginia. I think most people feel that those are the two that may be 14 and 13 in the league, or a lot of the things that I've seen. But Oklahoma did lose to West Virginia last year. So I think a big question is,
We'll just come back on it now. It's because we got 3 people on.
okay, well, that's something good to know going forward too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
this a new one? I thought it was a rerun. Okay, here we go.
One from the plains of Kay County, and the other is straight out of the backwoods of McCurtain County. Get ready for the latest sports takes, plus a view inside the world of music, food, and pop culture.
We'll begin at this point.
The Middle of the Day Show with Mark Rogers and Brad Copeland, now on 98.1 FM, WWLS, the sports animal. Now it's time for the Big Three, sponsored by Service Master by Eagle Eye. Carpet and air duct cleaning, water and fire restoration, and more. Call 405-216-8000 or visit smbyee.com.
Welcome to the Middle of the Day Show here from Big 12 Media Days in Arlington. Mark Rogers, Brad Copeland on a Bob Moore Thursday. Mr. Copeland, how are you?
I'm good. What'd you wind up having for dinner last night?
Last night we went to Bombshells and we had apps. So we didn't really go do it big last night, but we had
I've been there before, Mark.
Yeah, nachos. We also, not to disparage anyone too much, but we had some customer service issues there last night. It was kind of loud in there, and our waitress wasn't hearing very well, and we ordered some things, and some different things came to the table, but it was pretty good food-wise. I mean, I had my third favorite type of chicken there last night. Actually my second, some spicy chicken stuff. It was good. Good fraternity. The whole team went out together.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was good. Now, the better question is where I'm going to eat after I'm done today. Because I've got a few places in Dallas that I really like.
So do you have a short list of what you're trying to decide between?
Not necessarily. So Maple and Motor is a great burger joint, but it is in Dallas. And I came through Fort Worth. I'm not sure if you've seen the temperatures down here, but it's supposed to be about 106 when I leave. I got the car that has the messed up radio, so I'm not sure I trust it even to do really much of anything or operate at 106-degree temperatures. But I could go into Dallas and have a little burger at Maple and Motor. There's a really good Mexican restaurant called Avila's. It has great chips and salsa. I could bring home some of those to nosh on later. So those are a couple of the options that I've thought of. Now, you have all this barbecue knowledge down here. I did.
Yeah, but the place I was telling you about is closed on vacation this week, so I don't think you could even go there if you wanted to.
I had Lockhart Barbecue in the had a sample of some of the brisket there yesterday. It was really good in Texas Live.
Yeah, that's they're pretty highly rated too. The place I was telling you about is called Cadillac, and as you put it, it's good barbecue when they can close down completely and go on vacation.
And they are on vacation this week. That's a bold move for the restaurant. Yeah, I think that's right. Well, listen, we got a text connect line, 405-900-9957. If you got a place that you think I should try out here in Dallas or Fort Worth, then hit us up. Let me know. I'll go by and give it a run. This has been kind of a trying morning. My patience are tested somewhat. But anyway, we're getting through that.
I don't want to force you into sharing anything that you don't want to share. What was your takeaway yesterday from the day? Like what really struck you from what you heard and saw? Some of which we didn't get, and we may be getting some of that as we go through the show today. But from day one, what was your takeaway?
My takeaway was, again, and I think it's still the same today, is the new entrants into the league are really, really happy to be here. I think that they feel like they've taken a huge step up. And I think our perception of the Big 12 is Oklahoma and Texas are leaving. And so therefore the league is kind of devalued. So it's great to see the opposite end of that, where people are saying, hey, look, we love being here. I can't remember. How did the UCF athletic director refer to? He did not call it the Power Five, but he has a term for it. That was a really interesting term, I thought, that he came up with to kind of reference the Big 12, not calling it basically the Power Two with the SEC and the Big 10. But so I think that they're excited about being here. Other than that, really just it's just another typical kind of Big 12 Media Days. There wasn't a lot of hubbub over Texas being here. Don't sense that there's a lot of hubbub over OU being here today necessarily. I know Joe Castiglione's walking around, but there hasn't been kind of the mass congregation around Sark or Brent that we've seen in the past.
Now, you guys didn't bite earlier when I was talking about that. I saw Mike Gundy taking heat on ESPN this morning over the Bedlam talk. He was pretty vocal yesterday, I guess, in either in his remarks or in some TV interviews that he did, saying, "Hey, we didn't end Bedlam. Bedlam ended because Oklahoma left, and we're scheduled out through 2037. We would have to be able to make the schedules meet, and I don't see that happening anytime in the immediate future." But he did sort of, I don't want to say played the victim, because I don't think he played the victim, but he certainly blamed Oklahoma for the end of Bedlam. And the morning shows on ESPN this morning were giving him some grief over that.
Yeah, but why? I mean, I just think the model for the conference, if they're going to play 9 games, and what he said, I think is right. We've kind of scheduled out to 2037 because they've put together a good schedule of teams in the non-conference that is their challenging game. They're playing Oregon next year. They're playing Alabama coming up. They're playing Colorado on a future schedule, and maybe Colorado will be in the Big 12 by the time that game arrives for Oklahoma State to play, and they might want to schedule OU. If I were OU and I have an 8-game conference schedule, I'd want to play OSU.
Right.
If you have a 9-game conference schedule, you don't want to make that one of the 3. So
there's no doubt about that.
I mean,
there's no doubt about that.
And I think it's also funny because that was running on the scroll on ESPN. And I mean, dude, how many times does that question have to get answered? How many times is it asked? How many times is it answered? It's just continuous. There's nothing changed on that. I think we'll see the game played again at some point. I don't think we'll see it played continuously every year. But depending on how the schedules break out, and depending on what happens in conference realignment, I mean, things could change. I think that the way that the world works right now, where there's a ton of greed and more, how can we make more money, that I'm not sure you wouldn't see some of the bigger conferences try to expand and poach the teams that create a lot of revenue. How do we know who's going to be creating the most revenue, 10 years from now? I'm talking about the potential of UCF and where Miami came from and how good they were. That it can happen. Teams can all of a sudden catch fire, grow, have a great coach, and turn a program into one that is outstanding.
To your point about the teams that are on the schedule for Oklahoma and Oklahoma State already, there's no shortage of quality opponents to go around. I don't think it's the end of the world that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State aren't going to play. It's disappointing, yes, especially it's disappointing here. But I don't think either team is really going to suffer as a result of not having that game on their schedule. I think they're both going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, and let's see where Oklahoma State goes. This year's schedule is pretty manageable for them. They should be able to potentially win some games. I got to thank the people in the Text Connect line, man. We're just blown up on suggestions for my meal, right? Hurtado's Barbecue.
Well,
right by AT&T Stadium. Babe's Chicken. I got a ton of love for Babe's Chicken. I've eaten at Babe's Chicken many times. And
I've never been to Babe's Chicken. I see the signs for it, and I think that I should go, but I've never gone there.
Babe's Chicken is pretty good. The chicken fried steak I would rate as above average. It's not the best. George's Bar in Waco, the best chicken fried steak in the entire world. Joe T. Garcia's, there's another decent suggestion. I've eaten there. It's pretty good. Heim Barbecue. Oh, here's one. Here's a good one. How about a salad, Tubby? No, thanks. Man. Hard 8 Barbecue, Pecan Lodge, Odom's Barbecue, Cooper's Barbecue. Okay, all those. I'll have to figure that out later, but just making me hungry right now. All those sound pretty good. I really makes me feel good that you didn't watch the ESPYs last night. I'm glad that we're together on that.
I enough with the award shows, and I mean they're subjective at best. They're boring. I just don't have time for them anymore. I used to love some of them, but they've just gone to a place that I just don't. I can't. And so I didn't watch a second of it last night. Like I said, I watched about 3 clips on YouTube this morning, and I did think that the DeMar Hamlin thing was touching.
Yeah,
but I don't need another award show.
Yeah, I'm not here to be insensitive, but I was not on the edge of my seat to figure out who won the best athlete or the best play of the year. Did you watch any of the Gold Cup soccer match last night?
I did not. I'm betting Matt Ravis did, though.
I bet Matt Ravis did not watch that.
No, I was keeping up with it on Twitter while watching the summer league game. I know that it was a kind of a rough time for the U.S.
Yeah, there was no score. I mean, you expect the United States to beat Panama and they lose. I mean, that's ridiculous. Not good for the USMNT. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, I'd like to play a couple of the interviews that we did yesterday, and we will have on tap a little bit later Danny Stutzman from OU, Dylan Gabriel we'll talk to, and hopefully Brent Venables coming up here in just a few minutes. So you are listening to the Middle of the Day Show on a Bob Moore Thursday from Jerry's World in Dallas. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Middle of the Day show on a Bob Moore Thursday. Mark Rogers, Brad Copeland. Yesterday's media session started at noon, which is different from the way things have been done in the past. So most of our access was after the show was over. We've got a lot of great content that is up on the podcast page, and even some more stuff from today. Probably run some stuff from tomorrow. But we had a chance to sit down with Dana Holgerson, the head coach at Houston, who had some very interesting things to say, and here is that interview. We're here with head coach of Houston, Dana Holgerson. You said you want to talk about anything but football, and we're happy with that. So you and Cale might have some stories to tell. He said you guys kind of first met each other when you were recruiting together, maybe down in Houston and different places. Of course, we know that Mike hired you to be the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Which brother would you rather hang out with?
Oh, that's easy. Yeah, Cale.
Okay.
I actually like Mike now. That I'm old and mature, but back when I wasn't old and mature, we really didn't get along very well. Now that I've grown up a little bit, I kind of appreciate everything that he's done. That's for certain. But there was, I think it was probably, I'm guessing mid 2000s, Cale. My Texas Tech recruiting area was Houston, and so from 2000 to 2007. I would recruit Houston, and it was my getaway from Lubbock. Lubbock, I was a dad and, worked and didn't do a whole lot. And so Houston was kind of my escape to go be normal,
right,
so to speak. And so we would kind of run in the same crowds in Houston, that Houston Mafia crowd.
Houston Mafia
is real and has been widely talked about for years and years.
Where's the best place?
Oh gosh, there's not just one. There's multiple. I can't get into that.
We had Coach Switzer tell us a story that he was recruiting a player named Don Key that was a good offensive lineman at Oklahoma, and he said that went into the house. Coach had just been recently single. Don's mom was recently single. They were talking about Gillies. She asked Barry, "Have you ever been to Gillies?" And he said no. They go to Gillies together, but come back. Don Key goes to OU instead of Texas. The rest is history. So I would assume not Gillies, but there's got to be some good places down there in Houston to get away for a little bit.
There's quite a bit. I tell you, I was talking with Cale about this a minute ago, but Bob Stoops is a good friend of mine, and he loves coming to Houston. And so when he comes to Houston, he's blowing me up, and he was the last time he was in Houston was when they were about to play Houston in the XFL.
Yeah.
And so he's like, look, I'm here for 2 nights, so the night before the game, then I'm staying the night of the game. He's like, where are you going to be? I'm like, well, Bob, I don't know. I'll figure out. And so like the night before the game, he's blowing me up. I'm like, hey man, I'm at the Post Oak. And so the Post Oak Hotel is owned by Tillman Fertitta, which is my boss, as the chairman of the board at the University of Houston. So I've been known to frequent that place quite a bit. It's 5-star, spectacular place. And, me and Bob sat there till midnight, 1 a.m. I'm like, Coach, you got to coach a game tomorrow. He's like, oh, yeah, it's at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. It's no problem. I'll be fine by then.
He won the championship. Have you been to his place here where he stays? I hear that's also a pretty fun place to be.
I have not. I was in South Lake, and they were coaching. All right. So, I know Bob's set up here in Dallas is pretty sweet. He's got a nice house in South Lake, and, they practice in the morning, and then he goes and does happy hour every afternoon of just across the street. And I know him and his wife, do that quite frequently. For whatever reason, I missed him that day. I was there, but I got there at like 6 because I had like a home visit. And so I was sneaking out of the home visit early so I could go try to meet up with Bob. And so I didn't get there till like 7, and he had just left and said, he's like, I've been there for a few hours. I'm not coming back.
So Dana hit it on the head. We basically spend most of our time around each other was always in Houston, and we always ran around in the same group. Like Dana mentioned, there's a group call ourselves the Houston Mafia, and they are real, and they are great people, great friends of ours. One's a big-time TCU guy. One's a big-time Oklahoma State guy. But they're just the best of people, and if you know that crowd, or if you're coming into town recruiting, I mean, you've already got that set up. If you're there for a day and And I mean, you call them at 1 o'clock and they're going to be here, or 3 o'clock they're going to be here, or 5 o'clock or 7. It's a consistent deal. So we've had some good times.
What's neat about that is there's not really any doubled up like loyalties, right? So he's mentioned, TCU, there's Oklahoma State, there's big Oklahoma guy, there's Texas Tech guy, there's, the Damaris brothers were A&M guys, and so, we've inserted a Baylor guy, we've inserted a West Virginia guy. So there's really not, it's not only allegiance, it's just good people that share good friendships and good fellowship, which typically is a whole lot of fun until late at night.
But that's more important than anything. The fun we had and the relationships that we had is more important than all this other stuff, because you throw everything out and you just come and you just have a great time. And the group we run around with is a strong group. I don't get down there near as much now than I used to, but Houston was always the great getaway city for me.
Kale's getting ready to go to Wyoming for a little vacation. Do you have any favorite vacation spots that you like to go to?
Ooh,
well, it's not Wyoming.
Well, it's the other side of Wyoming.
Yellowstone.
It's
Yellowstone.
It's neat. It's neat. Sounds boring. I like a little bit more happening stuff, so to speak. I've never worked harder than I worked from June 1 to June 24. I've never worked harder than I worked in those 24 days. So recruiting, coaching my team, getting to know my team. I only had 55% of our team together in spring football. I mean, a lot of days I'm sitting there going, why are we practicing? I mean, this isn't my team. Why are we practicing? And so, I'm trying to get to figure out who my new guys are, who our team is, team bonding stuff. Never worked harder. So I'm not going to apologize for doing fun things from June 25th to which was basically yesterday.
Bob, I mean, it's interesting with Bob because he's told Kel and I this many times. What he learned under Bill Snyder, what he learned under Steve Spurrier, and what he said he learned under Steve was the ability to relax. He always wanted his coaches to be rested at times, and it wasn't always important to be in the office. So I think that having that element in your life too has to balance things out a lot.
Well, most people ask, like, can you really turn it off like that? Oh, absolutely, I can.
No doubt.
Yes, absolutely, I can. I learned that from Mike Leach. He's like, look, for these 4 weeks in summer, don't call me, and I don't want to call you.
About a minute.
We're out of here, and I think that's important, especially now.
Run this Colin Oliver here
real
too, because I don't think there's any.
Like, I would argue that's what got Leacher.
So
it's
a good time
on the horizon.
It's just, and so I'm trying not to get burned out. I don't want to be coaching when I'm, 65 years old, but I don't really want to get burned out right now in the first year in the Big 12. So get away, and I spent 4 nights in Miami. That was fun. And I spent 10 nights in Cabo. I actually stayed right next to Toby Keith.
Yeah.
In that, right on Cabo de Sol. On 18, which I know you've been there.
Yep.
He wasn't there at all. If he was, I was going to go knock on his door. But just we got away, as a family trip, and we golfed and we went to the beach and we got on a boat and went out to eat and just had a ball.
Well, I can tell you this: if Toby was there, you need to be prepared to be there all night and into the early hours. The man is unbelievable. He's got a lake house up there, and we know him well and run around and do some things. And he's going through some tough times and battling, but I mean, my man can go still 100%. He's an all timer.
Yeah. Dana, thanks, man.
Awesome. Good to talk to you guys.
Yeah, good. Favorite part of that interview, Brad, was the very beginning when he talked about working for Mike Gundy.
Yeah, you got a sense, right? You could kind of read between the lines there. I don't know how much was him having a go and how much of it was, I can remember what a pain in the ass that job was.
It was both. But I tell you what, he got hired in that job because they needed to hire an offensive coordinator. The athletic director at the time, I think, wanted, which is a little bit of a situation that may be going on at Oklahoma right now. Look, we're not hiring you, Mike, to be the head coach or the offensive coordinator. We're hiring you to be the head coach. And Dana came in there, and he's a badass. I mean, he knows great offense. He is one of the original Mike Leach disciples, and he's been good at it everywhere that he's been. And he's probably a better offensive coordinator than he is a head coach. But I love that Mike does things a certain way, and Dana does things a little differently, which, not as early in the office and not as much of a routine, which I think Mike probably appreciates now.
Yeah, I mean, I always think it's interesting hearing that talk, and it's the kind of stuff that you don't hear much because culturally it's sort of frowned upon in the U.S. But that talk of downtime and him taking it back to you talking about Stoops and him talking about Mike Leach of you got to have that downtime. You can only go so hard for so long before you got to reset. And I got no problem with those guys taking the time and doing nothing or whatever they want to do for a period of time. As long as they're bringing it in the fall, that's what matters.
All right, Colin Oliver is Oklahoma State linebacker who was great as a freshman, and it just didn't seem like it all clicked for him last year. I expect big things from him this season. He's from Edmond, a local kid that a lot of people know, and in Oklahoma City. So I was very impressed with him. Here's what he had to say yesterday. All right, I've been a fan of this guy going way back. He made about 3,000 tackles against Jinx in the state championship game, and he is a baller. Colin Oliver from Edmond, Santa Fe, and looking good today. I get some nice jeans and boots.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's
the cowboy culture, ain't it? Yeah.
That's living up to the brand. You're going to be playing a little bit of a new position, so I think that's one of the biggest keys to the football team there this year.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Obviously the shift to linebacker. It's a pretty big shift for me, and I obviously wouldn't be here if I didn't think it was the best decision for me. But like I said, man, it's a big shift, and I've been through spring ball and all that good stuff, working through it, and I'm real comfortable in it, and I just really can't wait to see where it takes me.
So tell the fans a little bit about Coach Nardo. I mean, nobody, people from the outside don't really know much about him.
Mm-hmm.
Not where he's from, but just tell him what is he like as a person? What is he like as a coach? And you believe in him and what he's doing?
I definitely do, man. Nardo's a people person, and he enjoys his time around us, his players, and he genuinely wants to get to know us more and wants to teach us more. And there's rarely coaches like that, and guys that they like you because you're you, and not because you're a football player. He's really a new brand of coaching, and exciting, enthusiastic, and all that good stuff that comes with it. But like I said, man, the biggest thing for Coach, he's a people person, and I really enjoy. Yeah, there's especially in this 3-3, man. There's way more freedom, in terms of run gaps, even pass drops, and of course, getting on the line and rushing still. We really get to do a little bit of everything, and that's one of the biggest things of this defense is the versatility of it all, from the safeties and linebackers even up to the defensive line. They get to do everything different, and every play's not going to look the same. So it's real fun.
So if you got, I'm going to put you on the spot here. We got to pick two players on your defense this year.
Okay.
That the Oklahoma State fans, that they're going to show out or maybe raise their game up to another level. Who would those two players be? See, you can't say yourself now because you're already up there.
I wouldn't say myself.
Who are two guys that are young guys that you feel like have had great springs that are coming around and feel like they're destined to have great seasons this year?
Well, first off, unselfishly, I feel like our whole defense, whether they're young or old, they're all going to do great in their roles, and respectively, they're going to be who they are. But if I had to choose two, I'm sure everybody knows him. Kim Daniels, he's definitely going to be a big step up this year, and Aiden Kelly for sure. I feel like he's going to step into his role a lot and showcase his skills and talent. And, I could really go down the line. There's a Nick Martins of the world. There's a Justin Wright. He's already proved himself, but he's coming in. He's going to be a big step.
Also, what position is Kendall Daniels going to be playing?
Dude, we call it a rover. And,
rover, star.
Yeah, it's just everywhere. I told myself I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
Kendall's going to be doing the same thing, man. Versatility, moving around the field, and all that good stuff. So
Kel kind of read my mind because I was curious about him also. He's kind of got freakish athletic ability. He's pretty tall for a football player. You seen him do some things in practice that make you just kind of scratch your head.
Just the ground he covers. I'm like, you can't coach that, can you?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. He can get it from one hash to the sideline or the sideline to sideline. I mean, get a pick or anything. Like a 6'6" safety would do. He could just cover so much ground so quickly.
That position that he's talking about is
switching to 4G.
Okay.
The freedom, then you got to go to the right, you got to go left, you got to come downhill, and they're going to put the two best players there.
Well, you're right, and I love his instincts. I mean, he's got the ability to find out where guys are, and I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your season this year because I think that he's going to be big time. There's going to be a lot of national recognition coming his way. Go ahead.
I was just going to tell you, I'm going to come clean to you real quick here. So, we recruited you a little bit when I used to be at OU, and not everybody could get on board. But I will tell you this. Coach Beanbo, the offensive line coach there, has always been a big fan of yours from day one. And even though he didn't watch a lot of your film in high school, he did watch some of it. And you were probably the one guy in, the last several years that he used to talk about that. I mean, we made a mistake not going after that guy. So, and Coach Beanbo, that's good because he's an O-line guy. He usually just thinks offensive line, but he's a big fan of yours.
He's having a hard time blocking him. I mean, no matter where he is on the field. Tell me about the Shetrans and on that side of the ball. They were your high school teammates. What are we going to see out of them this year?
Yeah, Talon and Tabor, man, I feel like they're going to have big years. Obviously, coming in young, it's real hard to, start out and play. It's a rarity that guys just come in and, do that stuff right away. But, for Talon and Tabor, it's just going to take them time to, develop and stuff. And I feel like this past year they've done that real well. And, I honestly feel like it's going to be a breakout year for both of them, or if it's not one or the other. But both of them are primed to have good years this year and especially a good future.
Now, Kale he wouldn't agree with this, but a lot of people that go to Stillwater feel like a great fraternity and they fall in love with the campus environment and all those things there.
I love OSU. I've always loved OSU. I love Stillwater.
You change your tune on that. Is that your experience there? Do you like being in Stillwater?
Yeah, man, it's low key. We're out in the country, and I've gotten put on a whole lot of country music out there, and it's just, there's good vibes down there, man. Not a whole lot's going on, so you don't have a lot to worry about. Everybody's friendly, and it's a college town. So, it's real fun going at it.
So tell me this. How much do you weigh right now?
At this moment, I'm probably about 240. But with that lunch, I'd say I'm about 245.
Okay. When you left high school, the first day you got to Stillwater, you jumped on scales, Coach Glass weighed you or whoever. What'd you weigh?
I was 210 pounds.
210 pounds.
Yeah, I'd have thought 220.
So, and I'm a big fan. I've known Rob Glass as the head strength coach at Oklahoma State. He's been up there for a long time.
K County legend.
Hey, by the way, I played with some Ponca City guys yesterday in golf. They told me to tell you hello.
Okay.
But anyways, Rob Glass, who's the head strength coach at Oklahoma State, was a Florida guy. Coach Smitty, our strength coach, they're big buddies, and they kind of drank from the same water fountain in the same ponds, and they do a tremendous job. I know he's a great coach. I always felt like that OSU football players that Coach Glass did a tremendous job of putting great weight and muscle on their guys.
About a minute.
Not a lot.
We're not going to break here. We're going to talk
a lot
with Joey
of programs and a lot of players grow. Like OSU did.
He's going to come over. Okay.
Multiple coaches, we talked about it. We every time we'd see you guys once a year on the field, we're like, damn, those guys look like they're getting bigger and they're getting, and that has to do with Rob Glass and the strength coach.
What do you want to play in the pros at?
Dude,
what's your best weight?
235, 240. Whatever weight feels good. The weight that feels good to me is around that range, 235, 240. So I guess I'd say right there.
Yeah,
maybe 245ish, maybe 250ish. I don't know.
250, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of weight.
Hey, if you can run that 4.5, low 4.6, you good.
Oh yeah,
you're good to go.
What's your fastest time?
I think the last time I ran, I want to say I was a mid to low 4.5 guy. The last time we ran up at OSU, I can't remember vividly. I'm not gonna lie.
You have an agent?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'll give you my business card. I'm not an agent yet, but I rep you. Colin, thanks for your time, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate what you do.
Good luck to you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Big key for their defense this year is his ability to make plays. I think that he will. I'm all over the map on OSU. I think there's questions on either side of the ball, but I do think between he and Kendall Daniels, Kendall Daniels, that they've got two guys that can make big time plays in this league. They're as good at two defensive players as there are, I think, on about any squad.
Well, they're going to need him. It's going to be a big change. You did not talk to him at all about the scheme changes and what he anticipates of that. Did you get any word from anybody in the OSU grouping about what to expect different from this team than we've seen in the past?
Well, we talked a little with Preston Wilson, and that offensive line wise, he didn't want to get into much of what they're doing differently offensively. I think that's a little bit of a question mark. But defensively, I think you're going to see, again, it's just the 3-3-5 that a lot of different teams play in the league. And what's the difference for him is he goes from being an outside rusher in a 4-man front, which comes with a lot more responsibility on the line, rather than an outside linebacker with 3 players up front, and he's playing off of the line. He can come on blitzes. He can also drop into coverage. And you talked about his speed at 4.5, excuse me. He can play in coverage at times. He's not going to be covering a guy on a go route, but he can play underneath. And so I think it is going to allow him to create some different looks for opposing quarterbacks. Brad, tell me what's going on to Bob Moore.
Bob Moore Nissan has got great interest rates. Right now, you could get in here and get 0% for 60 months on a full-size Titan truck with approved credit. Also, 0% special APR on Rogues and Muranos. If you want a Murano, an Armada, a Rogue Sport, or a Sentra, they can get you into that for 1.9 or 2.9 on Frontiers, Kicks, Maximas, and Pathfinders. They have lots of inventory. There was a vehicle, a truck dropping off inventory last week when I left here, so they got brand new inventory. You could drive one home tonight, or you could special order the color and the features and the packages that you want and get it in here pretty quick and still get a great deal on it. So come in and get one of these great interest rates while they're here at Bob Moore Nissan, I-35 and Tecumseh Road. All
right, Joey McGuire has said that he's going to come by and hang out with us, so somebody needs to make sure and text Joey from 98.9 that to be listening right now. So we get our Texas Tech on coming up a little bit later, as well as the OU players. So Big 12 Media Day coverage provided by Fire Lake Casino, Fire Lake Grand Casino, as well as Bud Light here from Jerry's World in Dallas. We're back with more of the Middle of the Day show right after this.
Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line. Friday, July 21st, Grand Casino Hotel and Resort. Tyler Hubbard. Live. Tickets on sale now at grandboxoffice.com. Don't miss Tyler Hubbard live.
Let's brew some beer.
We grow the barley that makes your beer.
I grow the rice.
I grow the hops.
I make the steam. No steam, no beer.
We make the cans. I bottle the beer. I label the beer. I pack the beer. I deliver the beer.
I drop off the beer.
I serve the beer.
to the middle of the day show on a Bob Moore Thursday. We are here at Big 12 Media Days in Dallas. Expecting to hear from some of the OU players coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Brent Venables a little bit later this afternoon, potentially around 2:30 today. So we'll get all your OU coverage in. And also Joey McGuire, the head coach at Texas Tech, should be joining the show also. Anything we missed, Brad? Thunder Summer League last night?
I don't think so.
Again, you're talking about Jang. I think he's been awesome.
I mean, there's a reason they picked him where they picked him, and showing the lack of enthusiasm that the organization has shown towards some of the other guys. There's no question they're finding a place for Jang, and they're just continuing on the slow build with him. I don't think that they can afford to have him have another kind of year like he had last year. He needs to make a step forward, but based on what we've seen in the summer league, it looks like he is ready to make that jump. So I again go back to the fact that Thunder made another deal yesterday. Patty Mills is going to Atlanta. Thunder get a couple more young guys, and they get a few more draft picks, and I just don't know where they're going to store all these guys. I keep thinking there's got to be a big move coming.
Matt, what do you think of what came back? We knew that Patty Mills was going to –
Jang. Yeah. I want to say something on Jang real quick. He has progressively improved through each summer league game. I mean, like the first couple games, it looked like he was really, really slow, second guessing everything. There was no aggression. There was no physicality to his game. And for a guy that physically, that looks like him, he could use his body a little more. And I think he's done that better. He's got to do that if he wants playing time. And if he's got to get playing time if he wants to develop. So that's a big key for me is what's his level of physicality and aggression. It's easy to do it in the G League. Let's see you do it in the NBA.
What do you see happening with the roster?
I have no idea, man. It's one of those things where there will be cuts. Guys will get cut down. Guys will get traded. That Patty Mills trade is interesting that you brought up. I think Usman Garuba, the big, it's hard to call him a center because he's like 6'8", but he can play the 4 or the 5 for the Thunder in situations. I don't know about that other guard, though. His numbers were not good. Not any good. So there'll be some cuts. They'll take it into training camp, and eventually they'll figure it out. I'm way more concerned about how the minutes are going to get doled out next year.
Yeah, and what guys potentially are on two-way deals with the Blue, but it's going to be next year's. I'm already excited about it. Can't wait. I think Chet's.
Have you guys seen some of the early win totals for the Thunder?
43.5
come out.
Was it like 40?
Yeah. Yes.
42, 43?
Yes, in that range, yeah. That is, I think, higher than all three of us expected, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would have seen it being somewhere in the 35 to 38 range, which is a healthy step up from last year in terms of the expectation. But I guess people are buying into the fact that this young group of guys, with what they did last year, Chet Holmgren coming in, that it's going to be a much bigger step than we would have even expected.
Where does 43 and 39 get you? Where does that put you?
Put you in the play-in at least.
Yeah, about the same spot they were last year.
I think the West is really balanced. There's not we've talked about it. There's not many bad teams in there. I think it's right around 6.
And that's okay. I mean, given the chance, if you can place that high in the West, then you're going to be in good shape.
Are they, 6 would be very, very high. Just looking at the West, like you talked about, there's the Nuggets, there's the Kings, there's the Grizzlies, the Suns. I don't know if the Warriors are better. You could argue that. The Pelicans, that's a question. The Mavericks got a lot better this offseason. I don't know. I think that there's 5-6 teams at least I would put ahead of the Thunder.
Yeah.
But I think the Thunder is in the mix with some of those teams. If the Pelicans have a year like they had last year, Thunder are going to be right there with them, the same as they were this year. So there are teams that maybe should be better than Oklahoma City, but are they going to be better when it all gets set in stone? I don't know that they will be. I feel pretty good about where the Thunder are right now.
I agree, and I think it is exciting to see where and how what Chet does. The Summer League has shown that he can provide some of that defense that I think that they've lacked and needed, and some shot blocking presence. Brad, tell me what's going on today in a Bob Moore Thursday.
Bob Moore Thursday, and Bob Moore Nissan will be at Bob Moore Ford tomorrow since Mark is in Dallas today. So come by and see us then. But if you need service, if you're going somewhere for the summer, if you're taking a road trip, if you want to get your car ready to go for back to school, that's not that far away either. Go to bobmoorenissan.com, click on the service specials page, see what they've got on special right now. Everything is always reasonably priced, and you know that you are getting good work when you get it done at Bob Moore Nissan. But click on the service specials page and pick out what you need done. You can make your appointment right there, and then it's as easy as bringing your vehicle in and getting the work done, and you know that it's being done right, and you can get to where you're going and back, be it a summer trip or just to school. Once the fall school season starts around, you can do it with service for Bob Moore Nissan, I-35 and Tecumseh Road.
All right, again, Oklahoma football players coming up. Dylan Gabriel in the 1 o'clock hour. We will be back with more here from Dallas, Big 12 Media Days in the middle of the day show.
Let's brew some beer.
We grow the barley that makes your beer.
I grow the rice.
I grow the hops.
I make the steam. No steam, no beer.
We make the cans. I bottle the beer. I label the beer. I pack the beer. I deliver the beer.
I drop off the beer.
I serve the beer.
Windows down and Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line. Friday, July 21st, Grand Casino Hotel and Resort. Tyler Hubbard. Live. Tickets on sale now at grandboxoffice.com. Don't miss Tyler Hubbard live.
is a Bob Moore Thursday on the Middle of the Day show on the Sports Animal. Brad Copeland at Bob Moore Nissan. Mark is in Dallas at Big 12 Media Days. We got a bunch of stuff from there still to come. There's some other things in the news we're going to talk about. Some guests we're expecting and hoping to get this hour. If not, anything that comes later than this afternoon, we will have for you tomorrow. I know Mark is going to be on with Jim again this afternoon, keeping you updated on what's going on in Dallas. Mark, I was going to ask you, and I didn't get to it yesterday, based on the news that we got and what happened last year, because the Jets are the featured team on Hard Knocks this year, can we expect you to be an Aaron Rodgers and Jets fan this year?
I don't know. Maybe. It just depends on how compelling they are. I think that his attitude seems to have improved being in New York. For whatever reason, I hated Green Bay. So I like Hard Knocks. I'm glad they finally settled on a team. It's ridiculous not to want to be on that show.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, I guess I get from a certain perspective the coach is not wanting too much from behind the scenes being seen, but it's a pretty wide open book at this point. I mean, nobody's doing anything. It's more the characters. It's not that they're showing you anything that any other team is not doing. So I don't know what would be the big issue with being on there. It seems like it's been good for every team that's ever gone on there.
Well, why would you be afraid to be yourself, right? I mean, that's what it is that you just have cameras on you, and sometimes you lose track of feeling like you're on camera. But it's one of the reasons, it's one of the many reasons why the NFL is the biggest business in sports and the best run organization going right now. Parity is one of those things. But, all of the inside access that fans are able to get through shows like that and NFL films and guys being mic'd up on the field and all that, I think it allows you to feel like you're closer to the players. And most people view athletes in kind of a sense of that's not really part of the real world, not something that they interact with every day. I think the NFL has knocked it out of the park marketing wise. NBA is getting better. Baseball's still really far behind, and it's suffered as a result of that.
Hey, speaking of this, you know what else we didn't get to talk about yesterday was, how about your boy Castellanos laying out why he thinks Scooby-Doo is a superhero?
I missed all of that. I don't know that Scooby-Doo is a superhero. I'm not sure.
Don't tell Nick Castellanos that, because he disagrees.
Well, but I don't want to hate that. I mean, I love Scooby-Doo, one of the favorite cartoons of mine growing up. They had assembled a pretty good team. Everybody kind of brought something to the table, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if
sure.
Scooby-Doo's a superhero, what's Shaggy? I mean, he's integral into the whole situation. And Scooby-Doo can't speak. That's a problem.
Scooby can speak. That's part of the reason Castellanos said that he can be. He said he's a dog that can solve mysteries and can talk. He's got special skills. Plus, he solves mysteries a lot of times while he is stoned with Shaggy.
I mean, let's be honest. It's pretty much, it was a lot of Fred and Daphne, Fred and Velma doing the heavy lifting in that trio.
Velma was doing, Fred was trying to hook up with Daphne. Scooby and Shaggy were always whacked out on Scooby snacks, and Velma was doing the work.
I'm going to tell you that my power ratings for Scooby-Doo is Velma in the top spot. She's number one. Number two for me, I mean, if the show is named after you probably get, that 2 is going to be Scooby, 3 Fred, 4 Shaggy, because he does have to interpret what Scooby says, and then 5 Daphne. Not hot enough.
Yeah,
not hot enough on her own to merit any further consideration. She's just the eye candy of the outfit.
Daphne is hands down the weak link on the entire chain. There's no doubt about that.
If it was a show that had real actors in it, there'd be 3 different people that played Daphne, right? I mean, there wouldn't be one person like kind of latch onto that. You couldn't replace Scooby.
Right.
Can't just get
and I don't
dog.
know if you could replace Velma, quite frankly, because she is the one that's she's bringing a lot of the knowledge to the table. And Brandon Marsh in that same segment said that he thought Batman was the best superhero because he doesn't have powers. He's just, as he put it, he's just a grinder, which there is some truth to that. It's not like he can fly. It's not like he's stopping a speeding bullet. He's just a badass.
I got no issue with Batman.
He does have a lot of money, though.
Well, you have to have money to buy those gadgets that he's got. And you certainly have to be very athletic. And Batman has
No
great
doubt about
pipes, right? Adam West, one of the great voices in television history.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
Matt, you got a problem with any of those?
No,
any of that analysis?
I was actually going to weigh in exactly the way that Brad did there. He's at least as much of a superhero as Batman is. And Batman doesn't have powers. I would argue Scooby has more powers than Batman does. He can talk.
He mumbles.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of talking dogs.
No, you don't.
It's not fluent English. I'll give you that.
His vocabulary is limited. There's no doubt about that. But he can speak. He gets his point across.
The one thing about Scooby-Doo and that crew is that they're always scared. They're always running from people all the time. I mean, and it doesn't really appear to be from anything that's a threat, right? Nobody's ever taking shots at them or, trying to do anything.
And at what point do you figure out that it's always the guy that's kind of shady that you've just dealt with recently? I mean, after that happens the fourth or fifth time, you'd think even the most stoned out person on Scooby Snacks would figure out this guy's got a reason to try and be causing people to want to leave this amusement park or whatever it is.
That's a true story. Do you know how many episodes aired of Scooby-Doo, the cartoon?
It seems like a lot, but based on what I know with some other shows like Gilligan's Island, there weren't that many episodes of Gilligan's Island. I bet there's less than 100 Scooby-Doos.
I'm going to say like 500.
There would be different iterations of it, but it aired from 1969 to 1976 on CBS.
Well, then my number's got to be low.
Then it went to ABC. And this is where it got really bad. I mean, they went to ABC and they tried to introduce Dynamite, Dog Wonder, and other people to already what was a perfect cast.
Well, and remember Scrappy Doo when they brought him in, didn't quite fly.
I did really enjoy at the age of 7 the Laugh Olympics. It was really good, and I was always rooting for the team Scooby Doobies over the really.
And
rotten.
I did like I liked the Scooby Doos where they had the Globetrotters. I remember one where they had Don Knotts on there. There were a few special celebrity guest stars on Scooby Doo. That is one of the few shows that actually worked for in my mind.
Well, it has had a pretty good run. Now that they're running them back on several different areas, so. I didn't know it was on HBO Max.
I didn't know that either.
Velma, an adult-oriented animated series which premiered on HBO Max January 12,
I think
2023.
that's called Velma, isn't it?
Yeah, and I got totally panned. I mean, everybody killed that
Isn't
show.
that
Horrible, apparently.
Mindy Kaling? Wasn't she the one that created that?
Yes, and it's trying to be like edgy and all this stuff, and it just I didn't actually watch it. But apparently, it's awful.
All right, that's good stuff. Now, you also sent me the fact that they have the world's largest python was fished out of the Everglades.
Yeah, 60. I think it said 60 eggs that the thing had in it. You know, they have a horrible issue
scary
in the Everglades with invasive creatures, and most of them are things that people have let go, pets that they've had that they decided, I can't keep this anymore. I'll just let it go. And they caught what they say is the longest ever measured Meese python, 19 feet long. And if I remember the story right, it had 60 eggs in it.
That is terrifying. And what do they do with it?
I think they killed them and then used the hide for, like, whatever.
100 pairs of boots?
Yeah.
And, that'd be a lot. I don't plan on going to the Everglades anytime soon. This is pretty scary.
I would like to go to the Everglades, but I don't want to see a Burmese python that's 19 feet long.
There's all kinds of other scary things out there too. It's not just the pythons. How long until they make their way, say, into McCurtain County with the alligators into the Red Slough?
I don't think. I think that McCurtain County gets too cold in the winter for them to survive. I've got to believe that their range is going to be pretty limited. That they could maybe make it a little bit further north in Florida, but that's going to be it, because I think that even in Florida, like the orange groves, when we see those freeze in the wintertime, I don't think a Burmese python can survive that. I think they're more of a tropical creature.
Well, that's really good news, because somebody has got a snake down there that they've thrown into the one of those rivers or the Broken Bow Lake.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Hopefully.
100%.
Yeah, that's how it got started in the Everglades, right? I mean, it wasn't just like that they swam over from someplace else.
No, they didn't come over from somebody else. Somebody just threw them in the Everglades and thought, I'll just dump this thing here and it'll die and I don't have to worry about it. And yet the circumstances were such that they not only could they survive, but they thrive. Apparently, they like each individual. And then, they're in the thousands already that they have there. There've been a couple of TV shows where I know that show, Swamp People, that was on the History Channel. A bunch of those guys went down there and did a show that was based on them catching pythons in the Everglades, which I don't want any part of.
No, I agree. The pythons, the alligators, other snakes in there that probably are even a little bit worse than what the pythons are that can get you. So. All right, we're going to, again, coaches are having their breakout sessions right now, so we're going to have some players coming up here in a few minutes from Oklahoma. Then we'll also have Brent Venables on in the 2 o'clock hour. Hopefully we'll get Joey McGuire, the head coach at Texas Tech, who's done a really, really nice job. And I think is a team that has a chance to make a move up in the standings, has the big game second week of the season against Oregon. That is, I don't know if you've had a chance to look too much at the college football schedule for that weekend, but that's one of those days where, it's going to be wall-to-wall football, and you need to basically clear the schedule with everything that's going to go on that day. There's some great games, especially great games in the Big 12 on September the 9th.
I'll have to give it a look. USA Today this morning did a story about the Big 12 because of Media Days, and they were ranking the best college football traditions in the Big 12. And I mean, I guess kind of surprising, not surprising. Oklahoma was leading the list in Tier 1. Tier 1, they call the best of the best. You had Oklahoma and the Sooner Schooner, followed by Texas and the Eyes of Texas. And then surprisingly, the other two teams, you have a guess what the other two teams are in the top tier?
Of the Big 12?
I'll tell you that one of, yes, just the Big 12. I'll tell you that one of them is one of the new teams.
Well, I would think that has to be BYU.
It is BYU.
Thank you.
And then who would you put in the fourth spot?
West Virginia?
West Virginia, you got it.
Thank you.
Look at you.
Well, those are
Take Me Home Country Roads and the Mountaineer.
Yeah.
Got West Virginia in the top tier. Second tier, they've got Texas Tech with the tortilla tossing. I personally, with Texas Tech, I'm a fan of that guy ringing the bell in the altered video. The guy ringing the bell, I think, is fantastic.
Yes.
Kansas State, Wabash Cannonball is in that list.
I think that's okay.
Baylor.
I haven't been to West Virginia to a game, but I've seen that in action. But the Wabash Cannonball at Kansas State is underrated. They got a great crowd. They've got some great kind of traditions with that. I'm looking right now at my man Willie over there in the K-State jersey. So K-State underrated.
Do you know the story behind the Wabash Cannonball?
I don't.
I think this is interesting.
Okay,
so according to this USA Today story, it says that the origin of the favorite fight song dates back to 1968. There was a fire in the music department in Nichols Hall that was believed to have been started in protest of the Vietnam War. They lost radio station equipment, sheet music, instruments, and many other things. The one item that survived was the sheet music for the song Wabash Cannonball.
Wow.
And that's how they started playing it, and now they play it at every game, and it's become their go-to thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's a pretty amazing story.
Any kind of tier, they also have
any kind of tradition at Kansas with basketball almost trumps anybody on this list. Eyes of Texas is pretty good. Boomer Sooner is pretty good. But all of the traditions and the things that go on at Fog Allen are the most important.
So also in the mid-tier, besides K-State and Texas Tech, you got Baylor with the Baylor line, TCU with their chant, Riff Ram Ba Zo Zoo.
Sorry.
Central Florida and Oklahoma State.
OSU's last?
No, they're not last. They're last listed in the middle tier. And then the lower tier, the bottom rung, they call it Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati does it. They've got a very stately mascot down here. He's probably the tallest of all of the mascots, but I don't know. Does the Baylor line do anything for you?
Not a big fan of the Baylor line. I thought it was ranked a little bit high.
Students get to run on the field.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 8, I would have thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
at this point in my life, I'm not that motivated by it. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to rain on anybody's parade. If people love doing it, then great. The Cincinnati thing, that's called the Cincinnati Catwalk, and that does not do anything for me either.
Well, I'll tell you this. You have only the perspective of not being a student in Waco. I hear there's not a ton of excitement on that campus. And at the times that I have been to Waco before a football game, there's just not a ton of excitement in Waco. So getting able to be able to run down the field as a student in your own special jersey that says Baylor line on it, we're probably not giving it enough respect.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Baptist University in the city of Waco. I probably am being a little overly critical. But that story is in the USA Today this morning if you want to see it. And they do have a pretty good breakdown of all of the teams in the Big 12. It's pretty good stuff. Okay, let's take a break. We want to try and sort of stay ahead of schedule as much as we can so that when we do get some people stopping by, Dylan Gabriel is supposed to come by. We're hoping to get Brent Venables that will have a perfect window to be able to get to them and get the time in just right. So we're going to take a break. I am at Bob Moore Nissan. It is a Bob Moore Thursday. 0% APR on Rogues and Muranos. 0% for 60 months on Titan trucks, 1.9 on Muranos, Armadas, Rogue Sports, and Sentras, and 2.9 on Frontiers, Kicks, Maximas, and Pathfinders. No matter what the prime interest rate is doing, that's the interest rate that you can get with approved credit right now at Bob Moore Nissan. They have a lot of inventory. They have vehicles coming in daily, and they can always help you special order your vehicle exactly the way that you want it. So come in. You're not going to find a better group of people to work with. My man Brian's over there cranking it out here at Bob Moore Nissan, I-35 and Tecumseh Road. And Mark is Big 12 Media Days in Dallas, and those are thankfully brought to you by who, Mark?
Thunderbird Casino, Fire Lake Casino, Fire Lake Grand Casino, as well as Bud Light. So we appreciate all those people sponsoring a great trip down here to Dallas.
All right, we'll take a break, continue from Big 12 Media Days and Bob Moore Nissan after this. It's a Bob Moore Thursday, middle of the day show on the Sports Animal. Brad Copeland at Bob Moore Nissan, I-35 Tecumseh Road. Mark Rogers is at Jerry's World in Dallas. It is Big 12 Media Days, and last year we got to know Dylan Gabriel before he had ever started a game at Oklahoma. We got to see what kind of quarterback he was, and he is with Mark in Dallas right now, and we're going to catch up and see what year two is going to look like for Dylan.
Not so fast. He's coming, I think, here in a couple of seconds.
Oh, is he not
part
with
of
us
the
yet?
breakout session, but he should be
my
here.
bad.
That's okay. You should be here any second. I did have some text that I wanted to read. You can let me know if you believe this. This one is: most of the invasive snakes in the Everglades came from hurricanes that destroyed pet shops. Most of them were escaped pet store property. True, not true? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, there might be some truth to that. There's a theory that the lionfish that are in the ocean in the Caribbean started from fish stores in South Florida that were wiped out as a result of the hurricane. But they also believe that there were plenty of them that were let go. I mean, we all know that's the story of the alligators in the New York sewer, is because kids were buying alligators out of the back of comic books and flushing them down the toilet. So yeah, that may be a contributor, but they also, I'm certain, came from some people letting them go as well.
Can you see somebody walking into a bank and say, "Hey, I got a business plan. I'm going to open up a pet shop in the Everglades"? So I don't think there's many of those in there. So the hurricane theory, I'm sorry, I can't get down with that. I can't buy it because there's no emotional attachment to a snake. I mean, I'm not really a snake owner, but I know people that have had them. And if something happens, you got to move or you have a change in your domestic situation. Sometimes snakes, they just got to go someplace, right? Why not the Everglades?
Well, and sometimes they just get too big, especially those Burmese pythons. I mean, that thing was 19 feet long. Imagine you buy a little tiny snake and all of a sudden it's outgrown every container that you've had it in and you just can't keep it. I would think there should be other things that you could do besides just turn it loose. But you would think that you would try and do something rather than just let it go, except that you thought that maybe it was going to die.
We got people on the station advertising all the time that'll help your snake grow to those kind of sizes. It would be very big. Okay, one more text here. Oh. Thank you, Jim. Paddle people at OSU is more recent history, 21st century, but it's become iconic for OSU with college football. I got no problem with the paddle people. I think they're pretty cool. That is, I
think it is
kind
cool.
of loud and kind of a little bit intimidating. I think I got no issue with bullet either. Is pretty cool. That's a great to the brand. So that is a good.
Hey, listen, I'm just reading what USA Today said. I agree with you. I think it's cool when you see all those guys down there banging those paddles against the padding on the sides of the wall. I think it's cool. But according to USA Today, they put them in that second tier.
Right. Second tier's fair. That's fine. What else we have here? Oh, man. Just out of curiosity, I'm listening to Sports Animal on the app in Western Oklahoma. Why are we hearing advertisements for a tire shop in Georgia? I don't know. They must have good tires if they're wanting to advertise in Oklahoma. That's a long way, right?
That's true. That's a good point.
I don't know. Good question.
Or it could be some sort of a mistake. You never know.
Hey, wait, guys.
I thought this was interesting.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, is another
No,
text
go
that
ahead
says,
with the Scooby-Doo.
Hey, wait, Scooby-Doo talks as good as Al. What a shot at Al. I disagree with that.
Oh, that's not
That
nice.
is amazing.
Not fair.
You got to deal with it, dude. Variety had a piece this morning about there's they're going to have a symposium with athletes talking to each other about the evolution of sports media. And what I found interesting about this is the people that are going to be on the panel that are talking about the new media and dealing with the media are Blake Griffin. Okay, Blake's pretty media savvy, and he has a very good presence. I've seen him do some things out of the box.
He dated a Kardashian.
Jaylen Brown
is on his own.
That's true. That's true. Jaylen Brown, okay. NCAA standout Angel Reese, which I think is interesting from her perspective of doing something that she thought was pretty innocuous that then got her a lot of media attention that maybe was not the kind of attention that she was looking for. And then the fourth person on the panel, Russell Westbrook.
Oh, fantastic. That is amazing.
I mean, I can't think of another person that dislikes talking to the media more than Russell Westbrook.
Well, that's what makes him good to be on the panel.
Like what is he's going to talk about how to avoid it?
Yeah, I mean, he hates the media. So, I mean, his perspective should be kind of interesting. Would you like to introduce Dylan again?
I will. We got to know Dylan a little bit last year for a couple of reasons. One, because he came on with us from Big 12 Media Days. And then two, he's got an NIL deal with our guys at Bob Moore. And so he's been driving around that fancy Ford truck. And he's nice enough to sit down and talk to us again and talk to us about what to expect in year two. So we welcome back Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma.
You're looking sharp today.
Thank you.
I think the suit is outstanding. Now, did you see any of the coverage yesterday down here?
I haven't.
Okay, I'm going to pull up a picture for you of Jalen Daniels because I voted him the outstanding, the best dressed man of yesterday.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to vote
you need one of these necklaces, Dylan.
The most outstanding dressed man today, and then we will have kind of like a finals matchup. So he had he had a chain with an iPhone on it that had his highlights. It was an Apple Watch.
How'd they make that happen?
I don't know, but it was pretty much next level. What do you think of the shoes that he has?
He said that somebody he knew in Los Angeles, some jeweler in Los Angeles had made it for him. And I guess they downloaded the highlight reel into the Apple Watch and then embedded that into the necklace. But it's pretty sweet.
I mean, that's big time.
That is pretty big time. So how have you been? How was the summer? How was Hawaii?
It was amazing. I definitely needed it just with, the extreme focus and strain that we had, in spring. But just had a good reset, came back, May 28th, I believe, and then started workouts and been going ever since.
Brad, go ahead.
What feels different this year going into the practices? I mean, last year everything was new to you.
Yep.
And there are going to be a lot of new faces this year as well. But what's different this year for you going into practices headed into the fall as opposed to last year when you got here?
You can feel it, but you can also just see it, the confidence in everyone's faces, but also the ability to dive into the details and not just know surface level knowledge. You're able to, kind of get better in certain aspects. And obviously we know what we got to be better at with situational football and just being able to have a point of attack. Last year we didn't exactly know what to expect. We didn't expect what happened, but just going into this year, the expectations are clear, what we need to get better at. And I mean, the confidence in year two of the system for everyone has definitely shown.
Tell me about the wide receivers. Drake is here. He's been here forever. It just seems like sometimes people overlook him, which is ridiculous because they shouldn't, because he's a very good player. What else at that position do you have, and kind of give me a scouting report of who you're going to be working with?
Yeah, there's a committee of guys, with Drake, Jaleel, Andrell, Brennan, Petaway, Jaden Gibson, Nick Anderson, Gavin Freeman, and JJ Hester. I mean, these are LV Bunkley. I mean, just a committee of guys that are extremely talented and have their strong suits, which I believe is really important. We got length, we have speed, we have route runners. We also have, Austin Stogner, who came back. I think we got a bunch of weapons that can do a bunch of different things, and I think that's extremely helpful for Coach Levy, knowing that, we can do, we can play at speed, we can play big, we can play, technical, whatever you want to, be in, we can do. And I think that's kind of instills confidence, Coach Lev, knowing that he's got that.
Dylan, what is what you saw in the bowl game give you confidence in as we head into a new season? I mean, we saw that the running back position, you got great options there. We do have some receivers that can step up.
Mm-hmm.
Did you take away from that game against Florida State? Did you come away from that with a feeling of confidence looking ahead to coming into another season with the team?
Initially, obviously, disappointed and know that that's a game that we could have won with just a couple of plays. But also I look at it as that was a top 10 team. And, we had the season we had and, the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride. But the way guys have stayed resilient and just coming back in January and setting the tone in the way we work and how eager everyone was to, find ways to get better themselves so we can be better as a unit. Man, I have a lot of confidence in those guys. Javonte and Gavin had one of the best rushing days of our season, and that's going to be the backbone of who we are. You got to be able to run the football. The O-line's solid, and I think that's one of our strong suits and one of our groups. So looking at them as guys who are going to be able to hold it down for us so that we can, hand the ball off and have extreme confidence in getting, positive yards.
What kind of challenge is it to run the offense at the pace you do and then sometimes slow it down? Because situational football doesn't dictate that you go 100 miles an hour all the time. So for a quarterback, how do you change gears?
I say it like this. You're on the freeway and you're pushing 100 until there's a car in front. Your cruise control slows down. And I say that as in, third down, situational football, being able to slow it down. It's harder to go, from slow to fast rather than, fast and slow it down. With the speed in which we go, you got to be very decisive, very clean with your vision, and understand, bodies that are misplaced, because that's how it is a lot of the time. But then when it slows down, it's easier to see a lot of things, a lot of structure, and I feel like it benefits me when it comes to playing slower.
Mm-hmm.
The tempo of that offense was a selling point when you guys were playing well early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
One issue that the team ran into at times, though, was the defense being outrun by the offense. Did you look at last year and keep in mind, I think one of the worst things that happens was that you got hurt. I think you had a great year for Oklahoma. But do you look at it now and say, boy, what can we do to help the defense stay off the field? Because the offense at times could go so fast that it was a turnaround defense to get right back out there.
For sure. And even with that turnaround, you think about it, 5 of the 7 games were one-score games that could have been on either side of a win or a loss. And, we got to find ways to finish. So, you look at it, we're not too far off. And there's some things that, are extremely critical with, the way we play. But I go back to converting on third down, continue to keep the drive alive. Whether you have the ball for 30 seconds or, 8 minutes, you're still getting the points necessary. And that's the biggest thing. You may score in 30, but and they have an 8-minute drive, but you have all that time that you didn't waste to go score and put a drive together. So for me, I think it's efficiency. It's being effective when we do get the football. and finding ways to, turn drives into points.
What truck are you driving right now?
Ford F-150.
The same one? Or
Yes, sir.
Has Ben hooked you up with a new one?
Ben's about to.
Okay.
So
what do you have your eye on now?
Man, I don't know. I'm not a huge car guy, so anything you bring in front of me, I mean, I'll be excited regardless. Maybe that's just
now. Are they going to sell? Are they going to sell this year's as Dylan Gabriel game used F-150
like an autograph and embossed autograph on the side of that?
I mean, if it helps, you know me, I'll sign it, whatever they need. But I feel like some people might just want the car. They might be like, the F-150 is just a solid truck.
Don't sell yourself short. Have you had to loan it to anybody to move anything or something like that? I can always use a truck.
I've been a help to a couple people. Javante Barnes.
Yeah.
In his moving. When we went to the Dime Time retreat, I had the speaker, I had the footballs, I brought 4 others with me. So
tell me about that, because my man Brad on the other end here, he's from Broken Bow.
Okay.
So when you guys went down there, what did you do? Did you have a good time? Is it all that fun?
Oh, it's a great time. The boat, the jet skis, the food, but most importantly, just the time together. That's something you can't get back. And I'll just say this: we had a great time, and it was a hot day, so we had enough to keep us happy.
Right. Didn't remind you much of Hawaii down there with all those trees, right?
Yeah, that's what exactly what I was getting ready to say, Mark. It's not Hawaii, but for Oklahoma, it'll do in a pinch.
Man, it will. It will.
Hey, thanks, Dylan. We appreciate it. We'll catch up with you at Bob Moore, I'm sure, before the season starts.
Thank you so much.
All right, you bet. That's Dylan.
Best
Gabriel.
of luck, man.
Thank
you. Yeah,
it is a Bob Moore Thursday. Mark is at Big 12 Media Days. More guests to come. Mark will continue to be on with Jim after the top of the hour. I'm at Bob Moore Nissan I-35 at Tecumseh Road. If you need a vehicle, if you want something specific, they can help you with that. If you're just looking for something you can drive tonight, they definitely can help you with that. They have inventory of new vehicles. They have pre-owned vehicles, including pre-owned Nissans. Come in and see what they've got and work with these guys. They are the easiest people around you're going to find to work with. They want to make you a customer for life. They don't want to do one deal and then never see you again. Come in and make a friend at Bob Moore Nissan I-35 and Tecumseh Road. We will continue on a Bob Moore Thursday with Big 12 Media Days after this on the Sport.
Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line. Friday, July 21st, Grand Casino Hotel and Resort. Tyler Hubbard. Live. Tickets on sale now at grandboxoffice.com. Don't miss Tyler Hubbard live.
Let's brew some beer.
We grow the barley that makes your beer.
I grow the rice.
I grow the hops.
I make the steam. No steam, no beer.
We make the cans. I bottle the beer. I label the beer. I pack the beer. I deliver the beer.
I drop off the beer.
I serve the beer.
That over to the ultimate. Joey's got on a pretty nice looking red sport coat this morning. And I always find it fascinating that whether it's coaches, athletic directors, administrators, they feel the need to coordinate their school colors with the blazer. And I don't think that they should feel that kind of pressure. If you're orange or purple, those aren't necessarily colors that lend themselves to suits.
Right. Right. Except a tie. You can usually work a tie in and it's not too offensive. But
tie.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of seeing somebody roll in a bright orange suit.
A navy suit, you can pretty much put any kind of tie. Now, had a chance to visit for just a few minutes with the new athletic director at West Virginia, who is Ren Baker. He's from Oklahoma, was a GA under Eddie Sutton at Oklahoma State and has had a great career, left North Texas to go to West Virginia. He's got Jordans on with the suit, which I think kind of makes him a little bit cooler athletic director. I can't stand dress shoes, really. I'm sorry. I just think there's no use for them. They're very uncomfortable. They're hard to walk in. There's potential for you to slip and fall at any time. So I respect that now in 2023 that it seems acceptable to wear a nice pair of tennis shoes with a suit.
Now, does seeing these people dressed up like they are, does that motivate you to want to dress up next time?
Oh, no, it does not. And Ren complimented me on how casual I was today in my shorts. So, and my beard, which he said apparently maybe it's a little scruffy. So I'll have to take care of that when I get back home. But yeah, no, I mean, we're just talking about football. What do I need to get dressed up to do that for? And
matter of fact, talking about football too, and they feel the need.
Well, they're professionals. I'm not a professional. I'm just a sports talk show host. There's no professionalism here. A lot of, if you're on TV, that is absolutely a fashion show, right? Like the ESPN guys, they're always trying to dress up to the point where I don't know why they don't just put a collared shirt on them and call it good. No idea.
Well, probably because their boss won't let them do that. But yeah, I'm all in with that. It doesn't bother me at all. Well, I heard somebody complaining, when Jimmy Kimmel first started his show, one of the first people I remember being on the Jimmy Kimmel Live train was Mark Rogers. And I can remember he tried to do that. If you remember, he tried to do get away from suits and not wear fashion forward stuff. And it did not last very long. I don't know if it was his decision or if it was the powers that be at ABC, but that did make it very long for him.
True. And I appreciate the suit on late night. I don't know. It's kind of fascinating where we're going with those trends, but it's kind of winding down here today. It looks like the Cub reporters are all armed with beef jerkies. They're not in suits. They do have very nice red shirts that have been gifted them by the Big 12. I would have loved to have been a Cub reporter. That would have been right up my alley.
Well, you could have been. You were a little ahead of your time.
They did. I don't think that many of these people are from Blackwell. I don't think they kind of reached out that far to the outskirts of the conference. So, but the players' media sessions are ending up, the different breakouts, and again, we'll have a little bit more time to talk to players and coaches here this afternoon. The rest of the way. I think probably one of the exercises. What my mom just told me that I can't wear tennis shoes with a sports coat. Yes, I can. Yes, doesn't like that.
I think you can.
I think you can.
David Letterman made an entire career about where he wore. Remember, his original deal was khaki pants and a sport coat, and he wore sneakers.
That's true. Just depends on
him back.
Depends on where you are. I got to probably think maybe tomorrow we have a little exercise at some point of ranking these teams. Now that we've had a chance to hear from everyone, when you kind of get biased or a little bit affected by everybody being so positive, I would say I'm a little bit more positive on a couple of teams down here than I thought going in. And usually when you hear from the coach, it's not like you get a vibe of, oh, well, this guy must think they're not going to be very good this year. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can't at this point in the season, you can't do that. But I am curious, what's your takeaway from what you've seen and heard, including with Dylan Gabriel just a minute ago about Oklahoma? Has it changed your opinion at all? I mean, I'll be honest with you, and it did last year too. When we talked to Dylan last year, the one thing that I remember really standing out to me was their belief in Brent Venables and the cohesiveness of the team, how they were all kind of rallying together. Hearing him talk, does it give you any different perspective on what to expect out of Oklahoma this season?
Well, one thing, there was a list of a lot of different receivers. I mean, I didn't really hear one or two guys kind of stand out, and I think that's a big question mark. Is he did say that they have a lot of depth and feel like there's a lot of players at that position, but are there one or two guys that he can see stepping forward at that position and breaking out into having an all Big 12 type season? I mean, the all Big 12 receiver position last year was really good. You had Xavier Worthy at Texas. You had Quentin Johnson at TCU. You had a whole other slew of receivers there. I'm even leaving some guys out. There's some really good players there. I don't know. Is there one of those kind of players on OU's roster? Texas has got a transfer from Georgia that played a pretty prominent role in the national championship team last year. And Oklahoma State has got guys I think that are capable of being in on that group. So OU's going to put up some pretty prolific offense. Is there one guy in that receiving core that can make enough catches and make enough yards to kind of open things up for other guys in those formations?
Well, we're gonna find out before too much longer. That's the one great thing about Big 12 Media Days is it opens the door to we're going downhill from here towards football season. We're in the worst time of year in terms of sports right now, but it is downhill from here to football season starting, and then you got basketball right after that, so it's about to heat up again. So I'm excited about it. Can't wait. And any stuff that you get this afternoon that we don't get to or that you don't get to with Jim, we can always run some of that tomorrow because, even some of the stuff that we played today, I thought the Dana Holgerson conversation was fantastic. I love hearing a guy talk that doesn't necessarily want to just talk the X's and O's of football. I think that's fun.
Well, hey, we got plenty more of that stuff in the can from this morning too. So we will absolutely be running those tomorrow. And you can check those out if you want to preview it a little bit early on the podcast. So shout out to our program director, Cisco. He's done a great job down here. He's been working really hard. Same with Curtis and Josh Lupton to kind of coordinate everything behind the scenes. And so we really appreciate what those guys have done down here because the coverage wouldn't have been possible or wouldn't have been able to be very good without them doing it.
No doubt about it. It takes a whole team of people to do it. So we will talk to you tomorrow. Mark, I'll be at Bob Moore Ford. You're going to be back home. So we'll talk to you in the morning on the Cat, and then I'll talk to you tomorrow at 11 back here. It is a Bob Moore Thursday. Thanks again to Ben Hayes and all the Bob Moore dealerships up and down South I-35. Bob Moore Ford, Southeast 89th at I-35. You got Bob Moore Cadillac at I-35 and Indian Hills Road. And you got Bob Moore Nissan where I am at I-35 at Tecumseh Road. If you want a vehicle, you want to drive one home tonight, you can do it pre-owned, brand new car, truck, SUV. They have inventory. The great new. I love what they've done with the Nissan Pathfinder. The Nissan, the smaller Nissan truck as well. The Frontier looks.
We actually potted down.
Remodeled in its big brother's shoes, that it looks like a miniature Titan, which is fantastic. They've got inventory of all of those, including the Titan. And if you're looking for a Titan, you want a full-size truck, they've got a special APR right now, 0% for 60 months on a Nissan Titan truck. So come in and take advantage of that while it's still available. 0% on Rogues and Muranos, also available as a special APR. 1.9 on Muranos, Armadas, Rogue Sports, and Sentras, and 2.9 on Frontiers, Kicks, Maximas, and Pathfinders. And then in addition to that, they've got a full selection. They have certified pre-owned Nissans. They have regular pre-owned Nissans, and then they have other pre-owned vehicles. I saw a great Mazda SUV out there. There's a BMW luxury SUV that's out there. You can drive one of those home tonight at Bob Moore Nissan, I-35 and Tecumseh Road. Mark will be jumping in with Jim throughout the afternoon for Big 12 Media Days and back with us tomorrow. Jim is up next on the Sports Animal.
25.